Hi, I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Inner Edison. I'm here with Nic Peterson. Thanks for being here today, Nick. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing all right, about as good as you can do with all this as we're recording this in the middle of COVID stuff. So still trying to figure out how to navigate all this.
Where are you located out of?
I'm in Seattle currently. I have a home and office in Orange County, California, and I have a home and
Okay.
office in Seattle, Washington. So,
Okay, good. I'm in Northern California, so
oh,
I'm right
perfect.
there with you. Yeah,
Mhm.
with the lockdown and the fun of that, trying to get around and do what you can.
Yep.
I have most of my staff work from home because that way I can walk around my office without a mask on. So
Is that pre-COVID? You had people working from home, or is that
no,
after?
pre-COVID they worked at the office, and then I just and the first round, that first 6 months or whatever, they all wanted to work at the office. And then the next shutdown that we happened in just a few months ago, right? I'm like, everybody go work from home. I don't want to deal with this. It's supposedly getting worse because of the winter. So let's just go work from home and we'll deal with that. And it's actually amazing how people work from home are more productive, because they're not interrupted. And for me, being at the office by myself, I'm not interrupted and I get a lot more work done too. You know how that is. So,
Yep. It's been the first round, the first 6 months of COVID are probably the most productive I've ever been. Just
yeah.
going to the office and having the space to myself for months.
Yeah. And it's amazing what we've learned through that period. For myself, I've gotten, I'm doing, I was doing radio before this. I still do that for my real estate side for the financing and loans that I do. I talk on the radio, talk radio. And then I started this podcast, Inner Edison, started another podcast called Helping the Brave, where we help military people transition from the military or throughout their life when you run into issues, how to move on. So, and, I got websites out of this. I've spent a lot of time very productive, and it's amazing what you can do when you're not interrupted. So, enough about me. My listeners aren't here to listen to about me. They're here to listen about you. So, Nick, what's your background? What do you do? What's your business?
Yeah, it's
It's a lot.
interesting. It depends on who you ask.
Well, what do you say?
My background is interesting. So I started. We'll start all the way, through let's say college is a good place to
Okay.
start. Um, I left my freshman year of college, said school's not for me, went and got a job, and did really well. I actually learned all kinds of cool stuff. I learned how to read blueprints and build architectural panels out of like high end wood veneer, stuff like that, which was cool. And realized quickly I don't want to have a job. I have an issue with authority, basically, which is generally when somebody says I'm an entrepreneur, that's how I translate
Right.
it. Okay, you have an issue with authority. And I spent the next probably 4 months. So when I opened a gym, because I was super into fitness, I opened a gym. I spent the next 4 years sleeping in that gym in a warehouse in Florida. Not super comfortable. It's really hot, really humid, concrete floor. And there's this whole I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an entrepreneur. And then at some point, it was like, all right, well, I should probably do something because I'm 24 years old and I'm sleeping in this warehouse and I can't do this forever. So all this entrepreneur talk, I guess I should learn how to make money. And I just focused on, instead of how do I get in better shape, which is all I was focused on all the time, how to make money. And it took about 2 years until, so I was had this little tiny bay. Is a strip mall, had a little tiny bay, about 1,200 square feet. And 2 years later, I had the whole entire thing. I had 10 bays. I was on a wait list. I was probably the highest priced fitness facility you'll see anywhere. Never advertised or anything, but just a wait list of affluent people. And I'll tell you how that happened because I think this is really important. I have this orientation towards, hey, I want something, and then finding the most efficient path to that thing. And I said, I want to make money. I want to be around people that make money so that I can learn from them. And I realized, for whatever reason, when I show them how to exercise, like I show them how to use this body part and that body part, not only will these super successful, affluent, hyper educated people spend time with me, which I'd never experienced in my life before, but they would pay me for it. And they would show up like 3 times a week and spend a lot of time with me. And it's kind of like a barber, where when you're a personal trainer, you're also like a therapist. So they just tell you everything. And everybody was telling me how to grow a business. This is how you scale. This is how you leverage. This is how you do this, this, this. And I didn't pay attention to any of it. because what I wanted was to spend as much time with these people as possible. So I ignored all this business advice, ended up with, we did over 7 figures, uh, always on a wait list, like I said, and it was the unicorn gym. So we actually had people flying from, like, personal trainers, celebrity trainers flying from all around the world coming to see how we built it. And a large number of them stayed. They just never went home so they could be part of it. Right.
Right.
Um, so from there, one of my best friends got his PhD in metabolic chemistry when he was 24. Brilliant. Like once in a lifetime kind of, mind. And we built a nutrition company. And through that and the connections we had from my clients, I ended up working with the head of endocrinology at Johns Hopkins, the Florida Department of Health, and all kinds of places I had no business being. So we just built this reputation and got a lot of authority from the Department of Health and Johns Hopkins and stuff. Still ignoring all the business advice I ever got, because what I wanted to do was like tinker with this stuff. So like, scaling the business, marketing, advertising, leveraging myself would take me away from doing the stuff I wanted to do. So we built that. That got to close to 7 figures. So I had 2 7-figure companies. And I was like, hey, done with this. Next. So I sold both those companies to my respective partners and moved to New Mexico to launch a third company, which was to show other people how to do what I'd done in the fitness space. That's a $100 million company right now. So it did really, really well. Still not listening to anything anybody told me about how to grow a business. And I realized I don't like fitness. I don't like the people in fitness. I don't like the way they market and sell. And I didn't know better. So I just got out. I just sold that third company as well to my partner. And I thought to myself, I'm going to learn how to market and sell. Because I've made 7 figures and then I did it again. And then I got to 8 figures without any of this. So I'm going to learn how to market and sell. And I went to all these masterminds and all these coaching programs. And everything got harder. Like, counterintuitively, I'm like, I'm going to make so much money. It got so hard to make money because I was focused on making money. Like my metrics changed, not how do I do more of what I want, but how do I run this ad and close this person and get 2x ROI? I started thinking about all these advertising things. So I went to all these masterminds. Everyone you could possibly imagine I joined. And they just didn't jive with me. It's not my style. But in every one of them, there's like 2 or 3 or 4 people that I got along really well with. They also didn't really fit in that world. And so after about a year and a half of that, I quit. I'm done learning from marketing and sales and stuff. And so now I'm not really working. I'm just kind of hanging out in Nashville, Tennessee. And I got a wild hair to build more stuff, right? So I thought, how could I build stuff in a way that I don't want to just burn it down later? So I built a company that just it's operators. I partnered with my COO now, and he just builds systems and operations. I figure, hey, if I have this asset, I can go do whatever I want, and then when I'm done with it, they can come in and systematize it and run it. So that's called Mastery Mode. That's my main company now. And to fund it, we said, hey, we got to get some initial funding. So maybe people will just pay me to hang out. Probably not, but it's worth a shot, right? And that day, somebody called and said, hey, I just quit this mastermind. What one should I join? And I said, I can't recommend any of them right now. But what are you looking to spend? And she said, $2,000 to $3,000 a month. And I said, cool, give me $3,000 a month. You can have my phone number. Call me whenever you want. Kind of half joking. She goes, cool, I'm in. Like, okay, cool. A couple minutes later, I get a phone call. And he goes, hey, Mallory just told me what you're doing. Can I get in too? Okay, cool. Got 2 people now. By the end of the month, we had 33 people paying $3,000 a month, which turned into my mastermind. So now I have Mastery Mode, which is systems operations, and I have a mastermind as well, which is still running. It's called The Network. So that was super cool. It was interesting. And from there, from my mastermind, I've met people like Steve Sims, and obviously, Steve, those connections go on forever and ever and ever. And I've attracted a very particular kind of person. It is a person that has a business, but not for the sake of having a business. Very similar to my very first company. They were here and they wanted to get here. And the most efficient path forward was to build their own thing. So they're trying to close the gap. They're trying to close the gap between where they're at, where they want to be. And the business is one of the tools. Very, very different than, building your life to serve your business, where we just have a business or multiple businesses to serve this purpose that we have. And about 5 or 6 of my clients that came in, I built really good relationships with, and I've partnered with. So I own anywhere between 30 and 70% of, there's Mastery Mode and there's 6 other companies, all different industries, all super fascinating. But they have that thing in common where they're looking for the most efficient path to where they want to be, and most, to the man with a hammer, everything's a nail. So they join these programs, and these programs are super focused on how to run ads or how to build webinars or how to get PR or whatever. And it's not necessarily the most efficient path to what you want. And so I just sit in that space with purpose-driven entrepreneurs. And, with the network that we have, Steve Sims is part of that, is how do we discern the most efficient path forward given the resources and the information that we have now? And it's awesome because I got 42 private clients. I got my companies. I got 42 private clients. No 2 people do the same thing. So we're talking different business models, different industries, different price points, it's incredibly interesting and so much fun.
So is that by design that you don't have 2 of the same thing, or it just kind of worked out that way?
It's by design. There's 2 ways. One, I really do believe that you can't have skin in the game all the time with your clients. But there's a concept that Nicholas Taleb has, which is soul in the game. And how can I really say that I'm all in for this person, but also all in for this person if they're direct competitors?
Right.
It's possible, I'm sure. It's just I have a hard time with that. So that's one reason. The other one being I only take on clients if I am interested in what they're doing. So if I already have, I'm already dealing with this industry or this problem over here, then it's not really that. It'd be more scalable. It would definitely be more scalable if I had more of the same people. Just not interesting to me. So it is by design.
So for a lot of people who don't know you and can see on the screen or can hear you, you're very soft spoken. We were talking this before we got on, how you say you're 4.5 and then you're a 5.5 when you're, and I want to put this all back. I had Justin Breen on the show a while back, and he was talking about aliens, and everything you're talking about is one of those things he's talking about, and how we're all different. And there, certain things that happen in our lives to get us to this point. So from here, for what people hear about what you do, what's your next step? What are you looking to do going forward? Because most people, I can't just say, well, this is, you told us everything about your business and how you got to where you are now. What's the next thing you're going to be interested in? Do you know that yet?
Yes, in the short term. And Justin Breen, we do some calls together. He said he listed the 7 most important people in his life, and I was on that list.
Wow.
That was one of the greatest things I've heard in maybe ever. It's an honor. He's a great dude. Yeah. So right now, a lot of what I do, where I sit, and the way I'm able to sit here. So people say, like, how'd you get in with this person or that person, or how'd you get a percentage of this business? And I found that if I can understand a complicated thing and extract the details that create distinction and then communicate it to everybody else, it makes me super valuable. So most people, like my second business partner, a lot of people I work with are so smart that they have a hard time communicating with like mass market. So they have a hard time marketing and selling and getting people to appreciate and value their intellectual property. So at least for the foreseeable future, probably the next year in particular, there's this concept of clarity, certainty, collapsing time. That's always what I'm looking at. You're here, you want to be here. And the only way can we create certainty around the path forward. And once we have certainty, maybe we can collapse the time. We can make it happen faster. And one of my partners, Dan Nicholson, we've been able to get together and turn this into an app. So you can say, hey, look, I want to be home by 5 p.m. I want to retire my wife, and I want to buy a vacation home. Like those are my top 3 priorities. And there's actually a dashboard that you can wake up every morning and you can see if the decisions you're making, or you can say, hey, I want to make this decision, and you can kind of play it out. Is this decision actually getting me closer to what matters to me? Because you very well could do something that doubles your revenue, but get you further away from being home by 5 p.m. Right. So that just bringing that together, we actually have a beta version of the app out, but for the next, who knows how long, it might be years. It's really getting that messaging dialed in and helping people understand that we're oriented toward more. We always, when in doubt, we think more money will solve the problem. Or if we just had more time, like more. We're just trying to orient people towards closer, like define what matters to you and how do we get closer to that. So we've been working on it for about a year, and for the foreseeable future, I don't know, next year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that's the mission, is help these people that they work really hard. And sometimes they work really hard and they follow some questionable advice and they get further away from the things that matter to them. So we're all in on helping people understand that concept, and then give them the tools to really lock in the things that matter.
Yeah, because what I'm hearing from you is basically when you help people, help people get to where they want to get to, they're going to be really success. They're going to help you. They're going to help you also in a certain way. Because a lot of people, they go into something, what am I going to get out of this? That's not the mentality you need to have when you're working with people and helping people. And I can hear that through your voice, through everything in you. What you don't know about me is I sold by the phone for the first 18 years of my life. And so I can hear tones and inflections that other people don't hear, and they don't understand what that means. I can tell when someone's smiling, when they're not smiling, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So I totally hear from you that you are so into this just by helping people, and by helping them is how you became part of their businesses and how they became help them be successful. It wasn't what was about for me. It was about what can I do for them? And that is pretty much what we do at our places. It's all about our clients. It's not about, how much money I can make off you. I don't care how much money I can make off you. It's not what I make off you. I'm going to make it down the roads. I know it from helping you and getting you where you want to be. So if I don't make a dime on you today, I don't care. I'm going to help you. And I hear that from you, that you have 42 clients that you've helped them. And through that process, they helped you. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, to be honest, that's just really hard for people. It's really hard for a certain personality type to not have, like, I guess you'd call it direct attribution, right? Like you help somebody and it comes around eventually.
Right.
There's a certain personality type that needs that, like, well, when is it going to come around, in what amount, in what time frame? I don't have that, fortunately. So I know that the more I help people, the better my life gets. I don't have to quantify it. I think it's an important skill for people to develop. But there's also, like, there's ways to create win-win-win, right? A win for you, a win for me, a win for the relationship as a whole. And that's by being deliberate about who you help. So yes, all in, I don't care about the money. I just really want to help. Let's say it's Dr. Trevor Cashy, who's one of my partners. It just so happens that it's exponentially easier for me to just let go of the outcome and help, because the stuff that he has will help me with some of my personal problems regardless. He's a phenomenal nutritionist and physician, right? So full disclosure, most of my partners and my clients are people like, ooh, the information that you have, if we can figure out how to get that out of your head, it also helps me, right? Like I would pay money for this. And, so obviously I would do it for free. It's just a even bigger bonus that you're paying me and you still feel like you're getting a massive return because of the outcome. So I am deliberate, just full disclosure, deliberate about who I spend a lot of time with, and open to learning from everybody, which makes it really hard to lose.
Yeah. I mean, and that's, I can, I hear that in your voice. I mean, there's not much difference, but I can hear the sincerity and that you really care. And that's what a lot of people need to understand. They need to find something in their life that they care about. And that's what they need to focus on. Because a lot of people go to work and they hate their job. I mean, I was in the military for 5 years, 5 months, and 14 days, but who was counting? That told you how much I really wanted to be in the military. But it got me to get my bachelor's, my master's. It was able to get to where I want to get to in life to have that. But what I found that I like the most, like one of the things from my business standpoint of doing mortgages, I talk to people all the time. I get to understand them, get to know where they want to go in life, what they want to get to, and I help them get there. And that's the same thing why I do this podcast, is because I want people to understand there's so much more out there for them if they just go for it, figure things out and understand that along the way you're going to run into roadblocks, and that's okay. You just got to go over the figure a way around it. Figure, like, if you want to get to this point A and you're over here at C, how do you get there? And what I'm hearing from you is this is what you do. You go, okay, how do I want to get there for the fastest way? Because you don't want to waste time getting there. Correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah. There's a preference, right? There's a lot of preference-based stuff. This is what, like, we work closely with, like, Bank of New York and some people about. This is probably the thing that makes me different, is that there's preference-based. There's fastest path, right?
Right.
Well, there's also most scenic path. There's also lowest risk. It might be a little bit longer, but so there's like risk tolerance to consider. So it's a point A to point B. Okay, we know we want to close that gap. Okay, most people don't want to be honest about point A, and they're afraid to define point B, because when you define success, you've also defined failure. So if you say, I want to be home by 5 p.m. every night to spend time with my kids, like, you can't hide behind the revenue numbers and all that other stuff anymore. You're a failure until so most people won't define B. But then if we do get that, we also have, what is an acceptable timeline? 10 years, 5 years, 6 months? Otherwise, what we end up is, especially as entrepreneurs or high-performing people, we just want more faster. And the only way to find out that limit is to blow yourself up. So we need to know from A to B in 10 years. Well, right now you're on track to do it in 5. So do you want to continue that? Or maybe you want to go a more scenic route because we got plenty of time. We might also say A to B in 10 years and you're 407 years away. Like, if everything stays the same, the current trend, you're 407 years away from retiring, right? So maybe we do need to speed up, which means maybe we take on some risk. So it's just, it's preference based in the sense that the whole point is for you to be happy, right? And so that just looks different. Some people, the fastest path to something might be more volatile. When some personalities are like, cool, I trust it, let's go. Other personalities, that volatility will give them a heart attack before they get there, right? So we might have to choose a less volatile path just because of the personality and the risk tolerance. So it's just understanding, like, not just being right? Not just saying this is the fastest path, I'm right, but also how can we actually make this work for you? And that's where I don't want to say it's impossible. It's really difficult to live in that space. How do I make this work for you? And take your preferences and your personality and your disposition into account. If it's purely transactional, right? If it's just for the money, you're just going to go, here's your directions, follow them or don't care, give me my money, I did my job, bye. And that's not necessarily, you might be right, it's not necessarily helpful. Those are often two different things.
Right. And you can't get, more success. You can get for a short period of time transactionally, but you want long-term. It's not about the transaction. It's about the people understanding, and understanding your client, what they want, and getting in deep with them to find out where they want to be. And what, because a lot of people don't really know, right? Would you say that when they first talk to you, they don't really know where they fully want to be? They think they do, but you get in closer. I remember at one of Steve Sims' things, he says, you got to ask people why 3 times to figure out what they really want to do. The first time, I think, is what they think you want to hear. The second time, that whole thing. So it's important to get to know your clients. And you really seem like not seem, but I know for a fact from what you just said that you really get to know your clients. And the fact that you limit the amount of clients, right, helps you do that.
Yep. It goes right back to, I still hear business advice from people that make way less money, right?
On Clubhouse. I'm sorry.
Everywhere.
There.
Clubhouse.
There's so many people in these places that are telling you how you should do it, and they have no idea how to do it. So.
Yep. That's the beauty of social media, I guess. You just fake it till you make it. But I hear all the time, it'd be more scalable if this, it'd be more scalable if this. And, like, that's not the point is not to scale in my mind. It's to do what you want to do. Like the reason you would scale is to afford you the opportunity to do what you want to do. But if you're already doing what you want to do, right, it's just it's a different conversation. So yeah, I'm just fortunate that the money follows. It just comes. I have people, I have a COO and people that stress about that stuff all the time. Uh, but here's what I know about me, and this might be true for people listening, so I'll share this. When I worry about money, it stops flowing. Anytime I've ever said, "Ooh, look how close we are to this revenue goal. That'd be fun. Let's make it about the money." Like all of a sudden, our revenue tanks. It's like, oh, we're going the wrong way. It happens all the time with a lot of my clients, and maybe people listening, maybe people where they almost built their business on accident. Like they just kind of did stuff, and they got clients, and then they join a coaching program, or they say, "Oh, I'm going to try now." Now that I'm doing 10 grand a month without even trying, I'm gonna try. I'm gonna make a lot of money. All of a sudden, they can't make money because they've been living in a place of like service, right? And that has attracted whatever financial gain. As soon as they think about the finance, it becomes so much harder to make money. So that's just been my experience. I am certain there are people that'll argue the other side.
Yeah, I'm sure there are, but I totally believe the same way you do. So we're going to keep it at that. So
Yep.
two people. Yeah. I mean, there's so many people can tell you so much about what you should do, but you really need to figure out what you want to do. It's about what you want to do, and what that success level means to you, right? Some people mean I want more time with my kids, I want more time with my family, I want to be this, and I want to be, and that's how I determine my success. Other people, I want to have this car, this house, whatever that number is. Everybody has their difference. I think it's very important to figure out what you want before you can go anywhere else.
Yep. And be at peace with it too, right? It's really, really easy to go, well, I have what I want, and then look at other people and think, should I want that stuff? Is something wrong with me? And so it's like you got to know what you want and be at peace with that's what you want,
Right.
It's tough. People I talk to a lot of people and they struggle with what they want versus what they think they're supposed to want. And it's just all part of entrepreneurship, right? Is when you
Right.
make your own rules, it's tough. Like you can't follow somebody else's. So you really got to figure out what the game you're playing is and what you want the rules to be and what you want the outcome to be. It's not easy. I mean, that's probably one of the biggest myths of all time is that like entrepreneurship is easy and awesome and everybody's driving Lambos and billionaires on Clubhouse.
Right. And I mean, if you want to, you can always go lease one. So, for a short period, take it out for a day and figure out that's really hard to back them up. That's some of the things and so for me, I really appreciate you letting us come into your world today, find out what you're about, what your company's about, where you're at, and learning about you. I really appreciate that. So our listeners can understand that there's many different ways to get to where you want to be. The first thing to do is figure out where you want to be and get a mentor, get a coach, get somebody to help you, and make sure that person knows what they're talking about.
Yep. That's tough. I'll if we got a couple minutes, I'll just give a more.
Nick, we got as much time as you want. I just, I try to limit these to about 30 minutes so that people I understand have lives, and you do too. But go ahead, take as long as you want.
Just a couple minutes, and when you talk about a mentor, because this is with the internet, I think it's difficult to discern who to listen to, who's full of it, who's worth spending time with, and money. And there's 3 levels, and Dr. Jeff Spencer shared this with me that there's 3 levels. There's technicians, there's mentors, there's cornermen, and you should always have all 3. The technicians are like they can run your Facebook ads. They know how to build a website or a funnel, right? They do technical stuff. The risk is man with a hammer syndrome. They lose the forest for the trees. They have a hard time with strategy. A lot of technicians are trying to be mentors. So we got to be aware, like if their answer to everything is the same tool, not a good mentor. We hire them to build stuff, right? And the mentor is the one that can step back, knows all the technicians, knows how they fit, kind of 30,000 foot view, right? They're probably not going to get into the technical stuff. If somebody gets into the technical stuff, starts building your website or something, not a good mentor, because you got to keep them up here. They have to have a view of how like these moving pieces work, and you got to think about your family life and your personality and all these things that technicians don't think of. And then your corner man is like that 80-year-old wise man that sold 30 companies and comes down from the mountain every now and then and says something really wise and then goes back up to the mountain. But the key is making sure that mentor is really understanding the preferences. That's the big, if you say to somebody, if I was like, hey, Ed, should I run Facebook ads? My hope is that your response would be, well, it depends. I have no idea what you're trying to accomplish. I don't know where you're at. I don't know where you want to be. Like, so that's my filter. I will just say, should I do something? And if they say anything other than it depends, I disqualify them. There's enough people out there that I can't do diligence on everyone. So that's just a quick anecdote on how to filter through all the stuff out there.
Yeah. And for like myself, when I want to do any of that stuff, I hire somebody else to do that because, I hire the technicians to do the websites, the other stuff. And, because it's important to have the right people doing those things that you're talking about. Sorry, corner man. All I thought about was Rocky. I apologize. So
That's where it comes from. That's Jeff Spencer is the corner man. He's my corner man. So he was like Lance Armstrong, Tiger Woods, U2. He travels with Bono and U2. And he's one of my partners, and he's one of those brilliant people that I get to work with. That's what he says, though. He always references Rocky when he talks about what a quarterman is.
all right. Well, Nick, thank you so much for being here today. Really appreciate it. Is there any way, if anybody has questions about what you're talking about, to reach out to you? Do you want that? Do you want people, say that somebody says, I want to understand what you're talking about. Is there a place for them to go to figure that out?
Yeah, fastest path is I always encourage dialogue. So Instagram is probably going to be the fastest path to actually talk to me and not somebody else running my stuff. Nic Peterson 23. Just shoot me a message. I'm happy to talk about anything. That's the fastest path for sure.
All right. Well, I appreciate you being on here today and letting us spend time with you.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Thanks for having me.